You're listening to a Reliance podcast, conversations and insights about our efforts to end sexual violence in one generation.
Hi, this is Julie Patrick with Reliance, Ending Sexual Violence in One Generation, and I'm here today to talk to the Thread Network about Sexual Assault Awareness Month. What impressed me first about learning about the Thread Network is the idea behind the name and the incredible work NFL women do, often behind the scenes, and the idea of the craftsmanship of a football, that it's always going to be held together and often hidden in the seams is the thread. And I feel like you all have such amazing capacity for social influence, and at the end of the day, you all are moms, sisters, partners, spouses, friends, and you're making a difference in your community. And that's what we need to change hearts and minds, especially when it comes to hard stuff like making the world safer and better for everyone. So I just want to welcome our two guests on the phone with me today for our podcast. Chanita Foster, founder of Beyond the Game Foundation, a nonprofit organization used to donate supplies and enhance the morale of 300 orphans and HIV-infected young ladies. Hi, Chanita.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great, thanks. And joining us also is founder and CEO of SafetyChick Enterprises, Kathleen Gallagher, a nationally known personal safety expert who helped pass the first national anti-stalking legislation and helped create the first stalking course for police officer standards and training.
Thanks for having me.
The topic today is SAM, Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Every year in April, we host this campaign the National Sexual Violence Resource Center does to raise public awareness about sexual violence and educate communities on how to prevent it. Each year, there's a different theme. This year's it's I Ask. I Ask, it's a message that champions asking for consent, that consent is healthy, normal, necessary even, a part of our everyday interaction. This is our 18th SAM campaign, and all those years, I think this is the most important theme we've ever had, because consent is how we will prevent not only sexual violence, but all kinds of issues that cross boundaries that make us uncomfortable or cause harm. It's a skill set about communicating what you'd like and respecting someone's response. It seems so simple, and yet we see what happens when it's not used or respected. So I'm super excited to welcome our two guests today and talk about these topics. So I guess, how do we get comfortable having the conversation, and how do we bring this knowledge back to our families, to our kids, to our partners, that sort of thing? So I'll just open it up and let's have a conversation.
The key word you said is having the conversation. I think transparency sets a lot of people free. You know, we're dealing with different eras. Certain things that were acceptable before, at some point, they become unacceptable. I was raised as an athlete. I've been an athlete my whole entire life. But I didn't even realize the whole athlete thing where you could hit someone on the butt. And in retrospect, that wasn't appropriate or that didn't feel good. But I accepted it because there was no one there to champion for me to say, you know what, you don't have to tolerate that. So I just want to start off the conversation by saying transparency and communication. Yeah, I too was an athlete. And then I had a stalker that started stalking me my junior year of college. And in that time, it was a guy that actually I was on the track team with, funny enough, but I had no relationship with. And so I had to learn caring about your personal safety is the greatest gift that you can give yourself. And it really does translate into every aspect of your life. So ain't nobody going to take care of me but me. And that really is kind of the core to all of the things that we're talking about: transparency, clear communication, and being responsible and having the respect for yourself to really care about your personal safety and really going through all the steps of really creating a very positive and empowered life.
So I would say, too, coming into this space with this network of so many amazing women doing so many things in the community, that you're already doing these things. I think for a lot of people, the hardest thing is knowing that they have the capacity and potential to do it. Having uncomfortable conversations, that's all they are, you know, it's part of your day-to-day life. You have to have conversations. But having the uncomfortable ones sometimes we'll avoid, especially when it comes to things like talking about sex with our kids, or, you know, even bringing up the topic with friends. But, you know, there have been tons of surveys And parents don't always believe this, that they're the number one influence in their own children's lives, but it's true. These surveys keep saying that parents will place themselves last in a line of who influences their children after friends, teachers, the media. We all say that. But when young people answered the same questions, they placed their parents first. And we assume that they're not listening, but they are.
Teaching these kids how to have honest, clear, and open communication, because consent, as we know, it's not implied. Consent is not implied. It's expressed. It's the way you express something, and that's the key.
When we talk about transparency, and I'll give you a perfect example. My children just had a competition, and they wanted to go stay with other friends, and some of my kids aren't young enough for me to maybe take them through the story of me being touched or being molested or, being in situations where, thank God, I got out of. But the only safety tactic I can use at this point right now is we are a family, and until I can trust you guys to communicate with me effectively enough where I think it's safe for you to go with other people, then you can go with other people. What does that lead them to do? To communicate. Because now they want to go with that friend. They want to tell me everything about the person they're going with, and that opens the door for communication. Because when you talk about sexual assault, when you talk about inappropriate touching, when you talk about sexual awareness, the larger percent of all of this typically happens through people that we know. And so the only way to control that, again, is transparency and communication.
The big point, too, is as you're saying, those teaching moments, those ones where you're driving with them back from school and, a dialogue starts, those are the beautiful times where it's not like you're preaching. I get a lot of parents saying, at what point should I start talking or teaching my kid about crime prevention, personal safety, whatever? And I said, the moment they're on the playground, as soon as you possibly can. When you hear your child say, Johnny's weird or whatever, and you take that moment and say, what is it about Johnny that makes him weird? And if they're saying, well, he, eats paste, or I guess that's dating myself too, dresses weird or whatever, that's one thing. But if it's more of like a behavior, well, he touches me funny, or he's always punching me or whatever, then you're learning information. But also then you can open up and it starts the dialogue of this is appropriate, this isn't appropriate, who you can talk to, and all of that. It's those little teaching moments that are invaluable.